lost in pride. In the street, a band was playing, and the crowd all danced. Couldn't catch what they were saying. When I looked up, he was standing there. I know I shouldn't, but I didn't care. I was lost in pride, in love. Ooh la la la, ooh la la la, dance. Ooh la la la, dancing. Ooh la la la, ooh la la la, dance. Ooh la la la, dancing. Ooh la la la, ooh la la la, dance. Ooh la la la, dancing.
Four bars.
Right. Jim Steinman produced my latest album, and it was really exciting working with him. He'd worked as a songwriter and producer with Meat Loaf, and he's sold over 10 million albums around the world. So I felt really thrilled when he said he wanted to work with me. Really, there's been nothing else in my life for me but singing. I once took a shorthand and typing course, but I was always being told off for looking at the keys. And I took a course in German. Well, that came in useful when I was working in Germany, but by then I was singing anyway. I was lucky because I got a recording contract very early on. Mind you, my first record did nothing, but then I did Lost in France and It's a Heartache, and that was a start for me. They took off in America as well as Europe and the Far East, and then there was no stopping me. It was smashing. But then I made myself stop and think. Where was I going? I wasn't progressing. I felt I ought to be getting more out of myself. Then Jim came along and said he'd produce my album.
Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming round.
That's it.
Every now and then I get a little bit tired of listening to the sound of my tears.
The situation that this came about from was a total surprise in that out of nowhere I get a call from Muff Winwood, who's the head of A&R at CBS here, Artists and Relations, and asking if I'd like to produce an album by Bonnie Tyler. Now I know Bonnie, as most Americans do, primarily from this amazing single, It's a Heartache, which was #1 in America, gold single, gold album, and I hadn't really heard anything about her since. I just know that, I mean, it's pretty much what you could easily call a classic song of all time, and it's also amazing that what would be called a crossover hit, in that it was a huge hit in country, pop, rhythm and blues, black stations, and as well as rock and roll, which is really unusual and pretty much to be treasured when that happens. But I didn't know what had happened to her, and then this call comes, and my first thought was, this is a pretty strange thing to ask me to produce, because I was primarily known for doing records with Meat Loaf and my own records, which were these thunderous, very Wagnerian, almost heavy metal-ish, sort of epic, stormy records. And I never thought of Bonnie in those terms. And I was a little bit surprised that they would ask me, but my second thought was, for one thing, it was a real challenge because of that, because it wasn't just, I've been asked to do a lot of heavy metal groups and stuff like that, and this was different. Also, I did think she had one of the greatest voices I had ever heard, and also had been not really used well. When I heard the album from It's a Heartache, though that was a great song, I just felt that they weren't really getting out what she was capable of. The fact is that the voice itself is probably one of the most passionate voices I've ever heard in rock and roll. I'd say, you'd have to say, since Janis Joplin, I don't think there's been a voice in this style that any female singers had. There's been a lot of pretty good rock and roll singers, but no one who's had this kind of raw nerve sound. When It's a Heartache was out, the general consensus was to compare it a little bit to Rod Stewart, because it has some of the sort of hoarse quality, but I think that's pretty deceptive in that Rod Stewart's voice to me has always had a sort of silky, smooth, very kind of slick quality. Great voice, but very different. Bonnie seems to be much more of a passionate sort of exposed nerve and much more raw.
It's a heartache, nothing but a heartache. Hits you when it's too late, hits you when you're down. It's a fool's game, nothing but a fool's game. Standing in the cold rain, feeling like a clown. It's a heartache, nothing but a heartache. until your arms break. Then he'll let you down. And it ain't right with love to share when you find he doesn't care for you. And it ain't wise to need someone as much as I depended on you. Oh, it's a heartache, nothing but a heartache. Hits you when it's too late, then he lets you down. And it ain't right with love to share when you find he doesn't care for you. It ain't wise to need someone as much as I depended on you. Oh, it's a heartache, nothing but a heartache. It hits you when it's too late. It hits you when you're down. It's a fool's game, nothing but a fool's game. Standing in the cold rain, feeling like a clown. It's a fool's game, standing in the cold rain, feeling like a clown. It's a heartache, love until your arms break, then it lets you down. I was born in a village called Skewing, just outside of Swansea, South Wales. I've got 3 sisters and 2 brothers, so it's quite a large family with a lot of music happening, all different generations of it, so there's always been music in my life. My earliest influences were people like Ike and Tina Turner, Diana Ross and the Supremes, and oh gosh, there's so many really great songs out at the time. I used to take these songs and go up to the bedroom and pretend I was singing to an audience. I'd have a brush in one hand and I'd be looking in the mirror as if I was singing to the audience. And from there, I think that's when I really knew that I wanted to be a singer. So I went into a talent competition from there, and then I went for an audition, and they were looking for 3 girls and a boy for a group, for a residency in a club in Swansea. So I went along for the audition. I got picked as one of the girls, and I stayed with that group called Bobby Wayne and the Dixies for 2 years. And then after that, I formed my own band called Imagination, and we were doing all the clubs and pubs, you know, the type of thing where people sit in front of the stage eating their chicken and chips, playing bingo, not really taking a blind bit of notice of you. If I sing you a love song, will you always remember? Will you hear it on lonely nights when I'm not around? If I sing you a love song, will you hear it forever? To remind you how much I care and how I needed you. Love songs last longer to me. Yeah.